In the past, people have often asked me my age and been stopped in their tracks when I tell them. Those who try to guess frequently place my age 10 years or more less than it really is, and as time passes, the gap seems to be widening. Why do I look to many like a man in his 20s when I'm actually in my mid-30s? Why have I been able to live medication-free for the past 6 years, when 2 doctors and a dermatologist advised me I'd be using topical steroids for the rest of my life to manage psoriasis symptoms? Do I have a secret to share? Or is it just predictable, balanced lifestyle tips? Is there a middle-of-the-road formula which will work roughly the same for us all? Or is it up to the individual to experiment? Aging is just a mental program, a near universally held belief system. When we see someone who we think looks younger than they should, all we are doing is reinforcing our own beliefs surrounding aging. The truth is that human beings do not all age at the same rate. Neither do individuals age linearly throughout their lifespan. The basic assumption is that genetics is largely responsible. It's a lottery, and you can look at older family members to get a rough idea of the way a person will look down the line. My truth is different. We know that cells are dying and being replaced constantly. The average age of the cells in your body is thought to be 7 to 10 years. When you're 130, the same will be true. Let that sink in for a moment. It's a mad thing to consider. Furthermore, the physical body is just the tip of the iceberg relative to what a human being is in its wholeness. The body can be thought of as the lens through which the light of the entirety of your being is shining. And at any given moment you can switch from pure brilliant radiance to a dull, shadowy tiredness without physically altering at all. Let us consider momentarily the objectively, physically desirable cover girl or guy. Youthful looks, perfect skin, an enviable figure. But if this being dwells on dark thoughts, if they harbour negativity and resentment, that will affect the light which is shining through, and though we might still acknowledge the pleasant form, we can actually sense the darkness beneath the surface, and often the repulsion we feel overrides anything else. Think of those pictures the newspapers love of celebrities fallen from grace on a drunken night out. And if these negative patterns persist, ultimately the physical form will begin reflecting them. Disease will manifest. This is empirically confirmed and well understood by the more progressive amongst mainstream health practitioners. Conversely, some of us don't exactly look like we were at the front of the queue when God was handing out body parts, and yet any one of us is capable of radiating an inner beauty that is absolutely mesmerizing. Alignment between the various layers of the human being, alignment between our inner truth and outward actions, is in fact what equates to true beauty. Do things that make you feel like you did in your 20s, or as a teenager even. I'm into mountain biking, and this is a recreational activity which defies age groups. It is common to see people of all ages, all body types, out on the trails exploring. There is a strong culture of rebellion and freedom amongst mountain bikers. You can get away with things you wouldn't dream of doing on the road, for example. Grown men and women take risks they'd never contemplate while sitting at their desk in a shirt and tie during the working week. There are some rules for etiquette on the trails, but they're unwritten and unenforced. Self-governance breeds a sense of freedom and youthfulness which has been largely squeezed out of day-to-day public life by ever-encroaching rules and regulations. Stand up to a parking warden, a copper, or a clipboard-wielding council worker sometime, refuse to give them your name, or demand more information of them than they are able to confidently provide. I guarantee you will feel empowered and consequently more youthful as a result of bamboozling public servants. Listen to the music you listened to back then. Re-watch the movies. I must admit I cannot actually listen now to a lot of the things I used to in my early years. I hadn't yet come to terms with the burdens I was carrying at that time. I was still in full suppression mode, but some of the music I was listening to was outwardly reflecting my inner state. It wasn't all negative. Every now and then I'll search YouTube for some old album I used to own on tape cassette as a teenager, and I can feel my awareness returning itself to the frequency I was on at 16 when I thought Razor Blade Suitcase was the hottest shit this side of the sun. That frequency has within it the codes for something we have lost track of through the passage of time, but we can retune ourselves to it whenever we like. Use a variety of physical activities, not just the critically important cardio exercises, running, swimming, cycling, but things like weights, yoga, dance, or rock climbing are brilliant to teach your body new ways to move. Intersperse sport with physical exertion that has another primary purpose, where the exercise is a byproduct of some other objective. Digging is a phenomenal workout. Moving logs or stones. Dragging branches or other material over rough terrain. Non-formalized movement with strength keeps the body guessing and builds core strength without you even having to think about it. It programs the body to be stronger, more alert, ready for anything. Diet. I'll give it to you straight. It's not about finding that middle-of-the-road formula which works roughly the same for us all. Diet is one of the deepest, most convoluted rabbit holes one can choose to go down. This easily warrants a video all of its own, but for these purposes I will say this: there is no formula. Eat in alignment for where you are at this present moment of your journey, and be aware it's a constant balancing act. Trust your intuition regarding diet implicitly. Experimenting with diet, even to what most would consider extreme levels, is going to tune you into your physical vehicle more than anything else. To know the extremes is to know balance. Pushing your limits is also going to show you just how separate we can become from this body, which conventionally we assume to be the actuality of what we are. Spoiler alert, the occupation of a human body is very much a temporary arrangement for our consciousness. This realization can come from diet alone. You want something a little more concrete? Just avoid dairy and anything else mechanically refined. But we're going to dive way deeper into the importance of diet than that in a forthcoming video. Whether you acknowledge it or not, you are an expression of divinity made flesh. This makes more sense to the rational mind when you consider that every atom in your body came from this planet Earth. And by extension, in the conventional model of reality, every molecule on this planet was assembled from coagulated elements generated in the furnace of a dying star which supernovaed billions of years ago. That is a clear secularism-compatible metaphor for divine beings as the originators of the earth and the life found here. Just like any pantheon of ancient gods had its less than photogenic members, they were nevertheless divine. Who defines beauty standards anyway, and do you really care? True beauty, as I said before, is found in alignment. Alignment is different for us all, that is to say it's subjective. All trees, for example, are beautiful in their own way. Theirs is a reality that moves so slowly compared to our own. But it is possible to realise this is just a question of relative perception. So when I look at a tree now, I see a snapshot of the dynamic process of this great thing exploding out of the ground from a single seed and writhing up towards the nearest gap in the canopy to claim its share of the life-giving sunlight. All trees can be said to possess their unique beauty, despite most not being individually particularly grand specimens. And many such organisms together will form a forest, which is a genuinely magical place. Now, what if I choose to see humans the way I see trees? Time is in fact an illusion. All there is now. This means aging, which is clearly time dependent, is actually a product of our minds. All mental and physical dysfunction is also actually only possible within the illusion of time. In The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle says, "All negativity is caused by an accumulation of psychological time and denial of the present. Unease, anxiety, tension, stress, worry, all forms of fear, are caused by too much future and not enough presence. Guilt, regret, resentment, grievances, sadness, bitterness, and all forms of non-forgiveness are caused by too much past and not enough presence." Most people find it difficult to believe that a state of consciousness totally free of all negativity is possible, and yet this is the liberated state to which all spiritual teachings point. It is the promise of salvation, not in an illusory future, but right here and now. This is why prolonged suffering of one form or another is such a common doorway to enhanced states of awareness. Our day-to-day so-called reality can become so uncomfortable that we will create hope of a false salvation in an imagined future where our symptoms have ceased as a means of escape. But if we reality check ourselves and realise that the only way we are ever going to break the cycle is right here, right now, actually withdrawing our consciousness from the illusory past and future, we can create true, lasting conscious presence. We can pick the mental locks that underlie our psychological dysfunction. Not only that, but this is what in turn heals our time-made physical wounds, by clearing the debris of accumulated psychological time and reinstating our youthfulness. I'm not even going to get into alternative health practices here, although I have experimented with many, and a few have stuck with me to this day. Each will warrant a video of its own in time. When we are facing blockages which defy explanation within the paradigm of the day, we need solutions which defy explanation within that same paradigm. Again, it is a matter of trusting your intuition, your inner tuition above all else. To ignore and suppress intuition is self-denial. This is soul suicide of the highest order. This is our way of saying, no thanks, not today, to our own divinity. Make a point of looking yourself in the mirror daily. Stare into your own eyes and inquire about who you really are beneath the false identity that goes along with your temporary status as Billy or Dave or Karen or Kate, whoever they told you were. Be mindful of the alienation that can arise from doing this type of exercise, and make sure this practice stays rooted in self-love. At the very least, the desire to ultimately discover self-love. Observe your body fully naked. Far more than an exercise in superficial beauty standards, your body is a symbol of everything you are here to embody. Furthermore, as I said before, it is not simply dumb biological matter following codes preset in our DNA. It is a dynamic and constantly shifting form, reflecting the essence of all that you are on all planes of existence. Do gods ride mountain bikes? Do they climb rock faces and dance the tango? You're damn right they do when they're temporarily in human form. Above all else, I would like people who watch my channel to know that no one defines our individual experience but us. Anyone who claims to know exactly what the human body is, how it works, or where it came from is delusional. They have a perspective, but that's all. And whilst all perspectives have validity, personal experience trumps them all. Health is the dynamic result of individual balance. I hope you find yours. Hey, if you listened to the whole thing, I just want to say thank you. And if you gained something from it, I'm pleased to be of service. Please let me know below what you think, because I'm learning just as much from doing this YouTube thing as I'm teaching. I'll put up a couple of links to the left to some more of my more cerebral and thought-provoking videos if you are interested. Take care.